recent survey asked Britons to name the most influential British woman of all time. Who do you think was at number 1? No surprise, really. What about at number 3? Close your eyes for a second. Take a listen to this. That's right, it's our friends the Spice Girls at number 3. This story is about who was at number 2. So, slightly less influential than Margaret Thatcher and slightly more influential than the Spice Girls. Possibly not so famous to those of you who are not British. Her name was Florence Nightingale. Florence was born in the city of the same name to aristocratic parents. Shortly after birth, she moved to England, and she's very well known in England and in Britain. She's known as the Lady of the Lamp. She's known as the founder of the first secular nursing movement. She used to care for the soldiers who were taken off the front line during the Crimean War in the 1850s, and she would look after them in this makeshift hospital. But actually, Florence's influence is far greater than nursing. She was crazy about statistics, about numbers, and she was a mathematician. And one of the things that really interested Florence was the amount of soldiers that were needlessly dying whilst she was supposedly making them better. You see, they were coming off the front lines with sometimes relatively trivial wounds and injuries, or at least treatable ones, and unfortunately dying of infection because of the poor hygiene and general conditions in this makeshift hospital. Florence was horrified, and she began to take notes and compile statistics and data on what was happening in this amongst her cohort of soldiers. But she knew that, first of all, as a woman, and secondly, she knew that as a woman, this was going to be extremely difficult to persuade the Parliament of what was happening. So she thought long and hard about the best way of presenting this data. And what she came up with was something that is truly quite original. We could almost think of this as the first ever pie chart. You see, in the 1850s, data had not even begun to be visually represented in the way that we are so familiar with today. Today, of course, we're all very comfortable looking at bar charts, pie charts, and line graphs. These simply didn't exist in the 1850s. Florence put together what she called the Rose diagram, and we can see it here. What I've done is convert this Rose diagram that Florence created into something a little bit more modern, simplified it slightly, but essentially it's the same thing. So what we can see here are the months of the year going around in a spiral, and we can see 3 different colors. The red areas are soldiers that are dying in battle. Then we have black areas, which are soldiers that are dying or at least missing. We don't know really what happened to them. And then blue areas, which are much larger areas, as we can see, and these are all the soldiers that are dying from preventable, mitigable injuries and diseases. Well, when Florence was able to present these charts to the Houses of Parliament, she actually managed to implement changes. It was only because people looked at data in this way that changes took place. Soldiers could at last be treated properly and sent back to fight and die as they should, as soldiers.